With Arunima also. Arunima, as we were discussing earlier as well, and Payal also, in fact, reiterating that point that all stops being pulled by the government, consistent engagement being made today itself, not just by Kiran Rijiju. We've seen the Lok Sabha Speaker also make that outreach to the opposition members. What is it that you're learning that is being presented to them as options?
See, Rijiju said this on the floor of the House as well in Rajya Sabha just moments before it got adjourned. Kiran Rijiju actually said that I'm going to meet the opposition leaders and we will draw out a business, and after that we'll have a discussion. So he gave indication on the floor of Rajya Sabha as well that the government was not shutting the door on discussion on electoral reforms in which opposition could make its point on SIR. Opposition led by Trinamool Congress, their basic point is death of the booth level workers, the BLOs who are dying. Their deaths is something that TMC is wanting to raise on the floor of the House, saying that we are not opposed to SIR, but the manner in which the exercise is being carried out is not correct. It's not the right way to do it. So they want to raise this point. I think what the meeting's agenda currently will be is to meet the floor leaders and try and chalk out as to how soon both the treasury and the opposition can arrive at a consensus on when the discussion can begin. Government's priority is the discussion on Vande Mataram. There's already allocation of about 10 hours to that in the lower house. If the opposition allows that discussion to go off smoothly, perhaps the government will be agreeable to have a discussion on electoral reforms. So that could be the agenda of this meeting.
Aman, taking that forward, the opposition, particularly the Congress party, have been accusing the government at the center of dictatorship. But as we were also touching upon the fact that there has been a change of stance, especially when compared to discussing the SIR exercise, and when we compare it with the stance that we had seen in the previous sessions, what do you make of this change of stance? Is the government on a stronger footing now, especially after Bihar, to permit that discussion?
Yeah, I would not say it as a change in stance. I would say a more nuanced stance by the government now. As Arunima has been reporting, that, the government is playing on the front foot, especially after the Bihar election result. Such a big victory has come where the SIR was made such a big issue by Rahul Gandhi. Remember that Vote Adhikar Yatra he carried out for over 2 weeks in Bihar. He made his entire campaign about the so-called vote chori, but everything has, failed when it came to the election result. The BJP has won with almost a 3/4 majority in Bihar, the NDA rather. And, that I think gives a lot of strength to the BJP to now come to the House. We have seen, in fact, JDU's working president Sanjay Jha giving out statements and saying that SIR failed in Bihar. Bihar election result is in fact a clear example that this vote chori campaign is completely a failed issue. SIR was done, and SIR was done very well in Bihar, and that is why you saw such a turnout increasing in Bihar, especially amongst the women. And that is why I think Bihar is being showcased now by the government as a clear example that the SIR is a very, very successful exercise carried out by the Election Commission. The government has nothing to hide. SIR has already been rolled out in 12 other states where the exercise is on, including BJP-ruled states which are not going to polls immediately, like UP, like Rajasthan. So the government is not playing any favorites. It's the Election Commission's constitutional exercise, and if it has to be discussed in the House in the larger ambit of electoral reform so that the House is not a washout, I think the government is now taking that nuanced stand to say, okay, we may do a bigger discussion of which SIR is a part, but we have nothing to hide.
All right, Arun, taking that forward as far as the opposition strategy is concerned, today we've also we've witnessed how they are raking up the Sanchar Sathi app controversy as well. Is there a confused strategy coming in from the opposition, particularly the Congress party, now that even Kiran Rijiju has lashed out saying that there's no need to rake up newer issues?
Well, that's right, Akanksha. We have seen, of course, SIR has been one of the issues where opposition unity can be seen, and that's the reason why we saw that all of them gathered outside the Makar Dwar holding those placards in their hands. Some were saying that we need discussion on SIR, some were saying that stop SIR. So, this pamphlet itself is a contradiction what they were saying now. Even now when they were demanding discussion inside the House, they're saying stop SIR. That's one. And as far as, of course, the Sanchar Sathi app is concerned, that's something which it seems opposition parties are not thinking to raise that vehemently at this point, because they know that they're putting pressure on the government through the SIR debate, and probably that's the reason why you're not seeing that hard-hitting campaign inside the parliament on that. Yes, there are the likes of Renuka Chaudhary was given a notice. She has also spoken about that inside, and that's something which probably opposition parties would want to raise later on. But right now it seems that their entire focus is on that SIR, and of course government has been saying this that they can have a discussion on the electoral reforms. And as we were discussing, that when you have discussion on electoral reforms, then it will not only stick to the SIR, you will have multiple issues related to electoral reforms, which is one nation,
I want
one
to quickly
poll,
take that point forward with Aman also. When you talk about these
etc.
multiple issues, shed light, Aman, on the fact the need to resolve this deadlock at the earliest. You're looking at a very brief winter session and a host of bills which are also to be tabled.
Well, yes, there are some important bills to be tabled and the government wants to push them. And, we saw in the monsoon session the last time, when the entire session was almost a washout, in the last few days, the government pushed its bill through the den because it said it had been left with no option. We may see a repeat of the same again this time if the parliament does not function. But if a middle way is found, as Kiran Rijiju was just telling the parliament, hum koi rasta nikalenge. So if a rasta is found by which an SIR discussion is allowed inside the parliament in the larger ambit of electoral reforms, the opposition maybe has its say, what it has been trying to say, that it wants to speak on this issue in parliament. The government also has its ammunition ready on the same, citing that why no appeals have been filed in Bihar, why no objections filed, why are you raking up earlier election losses. In fact, some in the government say that if the discussion actually happens, top BJP leaders could really put the Congress on its mat. Because, to say that you are raking up last election losses because you've lost those elections, and rather than looking inside at your own lapses on why the people are rejecting you, you are just finding a convenient excuse in the SIR to blame for your losses. So I think the party is very clear. Let's see what happens. I think in the next couple of days, we may have clarity on what the Lok Sabha Speaker, after the second meeting, as Payal was reporting. Let's see if some consensus appears and we may see discussion on this.
All right, we'll have to leave it at that as we slip into a quick break. Thank you so much, Aman, Arunima and Arun, for bringing us all those latest and live developments with that.